Hello, welcome to the interview here on France 24. Well, the takeover of northern Mali by Islamist extremists with ties to al-Qaeda has sparked an exodus of terrified people fleeing across Mali's borders to neighboring countries like Mauritania, Niger, and Burkina Faso. They are fearing for their lives, amputations, floggings, even summary executions by the radicals who've taken over that part of the country. Now, the steady stream of refugees is obviously straining the ability of humanitarian aid workers to cope with the growing flow. And my guest today, Valentin Tapsoba, welcome to our studios here. You are the regional representative for West Africa for the UN Commissioner for Refugees, High Commissioner for Refugees. Long title, but a very important job. You were recently, in the past couple of months, you have been in the refugee camps I was just speaking about, Mauritania especially, which has over 100,000 refugees right now. You spoke to the refugees. Tell me what they told you about the reasons they're fleeing, what they feared most.
When the war started, and we visited the camps in Beira, the camp in Mauritania is called Beira camp. Refugees are telling us that they fled for their life, precautionary measures. When the rebels took over Menaka and were moving to Gao and Tombouctou, they couldn't stay. They had to flee to get to safe haven, and this is why they took proactive.
They were fleeing, in many cases, hundreds of miles across desert terrain to get across to these camps.
Yes, you are absolutely right. But you didn't have an army. The Malian army was completely defeated, and then taking over, for example, Menaka, taking Gao, taking Tombouctou was very easy for them. And this is why, if you recall, we did not have many people killed or wounded people because the people were trying to flee. And then what they were fearing is maybe the Malian army will regroup and come and try to attack the rebels, and then they will be caught in the middle. And this is why they tried to flee.
And okay, now the ones we've been fleeing, the numbers are astounding when you look at them. In Mauritania, there's over 100,000 refugees already in the big camp there that you visited. In Burkina Faso, 34,000. In Niger, you have over 50,000. And that's people who are outside the country. There's also internally displaced people, refugees within Mali.
Yes, you are absolutely right. You have people who have chosen not to cross the border into Mauritania, nor Burkina Faso, nor Niger, but wanted to go south. Maybe because they have family members, they didn't want to go outside, and maybe also they were thinking that the situation will calm down, and then they can go back.
But they're going, I assume, toward south. They're going mostly towards the capital, Bamako.
They are going to Kai, they are going to Mopti, they are going towards Bamako. And Bamako now is a little bit crowded because most of these internally displaced people, if they have relatives, they have family members, they would like to join them, but not leave Mali, to stay within Mali.
The ones outside the country, in the neighboring countries, in those refugee camps, you said recently that you really only have able to provide about 40% of their needs. Yet we're looking at the possibility of a much worse humanitarian crisis to come if there's military intervention.
Yes, I fully agree with you. We launched an appeal of $153.7 million to care for these people. But as of today, we only receive 40.6% of our need, the coverage. So
what does that mean in terms of how much? When you say you only have 40%, you can still right now provide for them, but in a few more weeks you won't be able to, or?
This is, right now, what we have, the 40% financial assistance that we got, we are still trying to do life-saving activities, meaning protection, meaning shelter, meaning water, meaning food, and meaning health. But outside of that, for example, if I take education, we are not in a position to cover the education sector, and education is a key element for UNHCR because it is a protection. People student has lost the school year 2011-2012 because when they came in January, February 2012, they were not able to be integrated into schools.
So I'm sorry, but so you basically what you're asking, how much you've been going around the European capitals right now. You were in Brussels this week as well. How much money specifically do you need right now to provide these extra needs?
We still need more or less. If we can get 50 million, it will be quite good to close the gap to end the year. But like you pointed out,
with the intervention,
with the intervention, we have to get ready. We have to be prepared, and preparedness, we need additional money. And if there is going to be a military intervention, we had already with the UN country team members in Bamako, Mali, to come up with a contingency plan within Mali. And right now, if there is any military intervention, the scenario military intervention, we will have more or less 450,000 refugees outside, going outside.
Outside, and this is on top of what we've had over 300,000 so far, over 400,000 already.
Yes, and 180,000 internally displaced people more on top of what we have now, 18,000 internally displaced people. So you see, this is a big magnitude, and we are really appealing, like the High Commissioner, Mr. Antonio Guterres, our High Commissioner for Refugees. He is always calling upon the donors and so forth to help UNHCR to deal with the Mali crisis.
You're not a politician. You're a humanitarian aid worker with the UN. But from what you say, I assume that you're wary of a military intervention, or at least the impact it's going to have on your work.
Yes, definitely. What we are really looking at now is if there is going to be any action taken, military option being on the table, we are really requesting the decision maker to make sure that whatever decision is going to be taken is well thought.
Is coordinated with all of you in the humanitarian side. We spoke, France 24 spoke to French President François Hollande yesterday. He said he doesn't think you can negotiate with these people, and he said he's absolutely pushing for intervention. Do you feel that France is taking enough into account your concerns on the humanitarian level?
I think definitely they will take that, they will factor that one in, because when you are talking about war, when you are talking about intervention, there is going to be collateral damage, there will be an impact, and that impact is going to fall under the humanitarian workers. And UNHCR being on the driving seat, the leadership role in terms of refugee management and so forth, we cannot afford to not deliver. And like we say, the donors, they have the money, we have the brain, we have the will, we have the muscles. So what we are calling upon the international community is definitely to help UNHCR with financial assistance so that we can help the people of concern to UNHCR whenever this situation comes.
How would you characterize the reception so far that the countries that are receiving these refugees have given to them? Because they're very poor themselves and they don't really have the resources, as you said. Has there been a lot of friction with the local populations and the refugees coming in?
No, I would say take the opportunity really to thank the government of Burkina Faso, the government of Niger, and the government of Mauritania, who have already opened their doors, their heart, and the local population to receive the additional the refugees from Mali, their brothers and sisters. But like you pointed out, these countries are already poor. And when the crisis started, the Sahel region had already in trouble with food crisis, nutritional crisis.
5 million people are already affected or in danger of malnutrition in the region.
Precisely. And then what we are also looking at is if there is any additional help, we can not only care for the refugees, but we also need the international community to look at the host population. Because if we don't do that, and if the host population is in dear need of food or water or health, and they are not being cared for, then there will be tension. And the refugees are getting food, medicine, and the local population is not getting that. It may become...
That's what creates friction. Finally, very briefly, presumably at some point the military intervention ends. When do you foresee that these refugees will be able to return to Mali? Are you not even thinking about that yet?
We are just looking about medium to long term, because as you may know, the Tuareg crisis did not start now. It started in the 90s. In the 2000, and then now the recent one, 2012.
Right.
Then when we spoke with the refugees, they are saying they are here to stay longer. They are no longer going to rush. Even if the north has been freed up, they will definitely be cautious before going back, because they want a political settlement for good. It is not just liberating the north. They really need the problem that has created that to be looked at and to be completely put on the table and cared for.
Sure. Valentin Tsepseva, we're going to have to leave it there. We've been talking about the humanitarian crisis. You're working with the UN, a High Commissioner for Refugees, trying to cope with what is a growing refugee crisis from Mali across the borders into other countries. And for right now, it is a crisis that you are struggling just to sort of meet the demands of. Thank you very much for speaking to us today. And
thank you for having me.
And thanks to all of you for watching the interview here on France 24.